questions. I got a little more time than I thought. But,
you got time, so
okay.
If you could wrap up, we could do some Q&A as well if you'd like.
Yeah, I wanted to save a little bit of time at the end. So I'd like to talk about a few more of the generalized points about the gaming industry and how open source fits into that, as well as a few little insights. You know, the gaming industry, and including open source games, there's a certain amount of, I guess you could say, people can be a little judgmental about games. And as a developer, this can be kind of hard to take, the criticism. You know, you do need to listen to these critics, though, because a lot of times they do have valid points, no matter how much you don't want to hear it. Your project probably is going to need some improvement along the way. I mean, you know, with Alien Arena, we improve things on a daily basis almost, you know, and we do listen to what people do say about it, even if it's a negative thing. You know, it's like any artistic endeavor, you know, you got to have a bit of a thick skin and be able to take that criticism and weed through what's actually valid criticism and not just fanboys or, you know, haters that are, you know, just bashing your game because it's not the kind of game they like or play. There's also going to be people that want to actually contribute via criticism. Some people, that's just the way some people feel that they can actually contribute to it. And they're doing it because they, you know, they actually genuinely want to help and see the project improve. So you have to, you know, basically see who's being intellectually honest and kind of pick through that and use these things to fuel your development and your drive, really. Open source games, they don't just have to be a hobby. I know everybody thinks that, well, it's free, you know, how are we going to make any money out of this? There's a whole bunch of ways you can make money off of open source projects if that's something you want to do, if you don't want it to be just a hobby. You can sell advertising on your website. You can set up donation pages, which is something that's very common and very popular. You can bundle other software packages with your software. That's something that we do, and it works pretty well. You can sell advertising space in your game itself, or even on your website. In our game, we have, and Quake Live does this too, you have little billboards throughout the level. You can possibly sell it like a billboard on the side of the street, and you know, a lot of people are going to see it. I think that the open source method is really working for gaming. When I first started working on open source games, there was only a handful of projects that I saw that I would actually consider quality. Now there's just, you know, there's a whole plethora out there that I think that are really approaching commercial quality. I'm sure a lot of you are aware of some of the different projects out there and have been to some of the free gamer sites or even on Wikipedia. You know, there are a great amount of really good projects out there. And I think that this is starting to catch the eye of some commercial developers because you're starting to see more and more commercial developers open source their engines after they've released a game. And not only that, you see them providing development kits. Unreal SDK comes to mind. They also provide free or even inexpensive licenses to use their engines. And I think what they've seen is they've seen how these open source games build these communities around them, giving their, you know, the games a lot more longevity, and I think they're trying to emulate that in some fashion. Now granted, you're not going to find too many commercial game companies that are going to release their source code before the game is actually out there. But I do think it's a pretty good step in the right direction. Now, I've probably mentioned this to a number of people that have stopped by my booth. Gaming is actually the largest entertainment industry in the world right now. It's even larger than the movie industry, which is kind of hard to believe, but it's true. I think that open source gaming, I think it has a very bright future to be a big part of it. So that's about it. If you guys got any questions, feel free. We've got 9 minutes left here. I think I actually skipped part of this somehow, but okay.
Yeah, if there's questions around it. John, can I ask the first question out of this?
Sure, go
For
ahead.
you, is this a hobby or a business?
It's both. It started as a hobby. Now it's a bit of a side business. It's not my primary source of income, but it's a supplemental source of income. However, right now, most of that money, it's not really doing anything other than accruing interest, and we pump a little money back into advertising in the game itself to like generate more player base and things like that.
Yeah. But what do you have a plan for that next, or is it doing what you want it to do?
I'd like to see it grow. Honestly, it would be nice if that was my primary source of income, although I really do like my day job a lot too, so it would be kind of hard to leave that behind.
Yeah, that's a problem.
not
Having
because
a
of
good
the money,
paying
it's just-
day job kills these hobbies sometimes.
Well, I like doing both things, and you know, my day job is really fun for me too. So I don't know if I would leave it even if this was like even more successful than that. I'd still want to have my fingers in that, you know, what I do for a living now.
Super. All right. Questions from the audience? Anybody got something? Yes, sir. Just yell it out.
Yeah, you have to yell.
How much of a challenge is it keeping your engine running on both platforms, Windows and Linux?
It was hard at
and John,
first.
if you would just repeat the question.
Yeah, okay. It was hard at first, but it's not too much of a challenge now. We recently implemented auto tools to make it a lot easier to compile on Linux, at least for the repo managers. I think the developers, they would have preferred to see something like CMake or something like that. But for the Linux repo managers, they really like auto tools, so we went to that. But most of the code is shared. What isn't is either if-def'd out, or we have certain blocks of files that are specific to each operating system. But it's really not much of a challenge now. But that's it's the maturity of the project at this point.
Do you not run into a lot of issues where you implement something new on one side and it won't work on the other without a lot of fiddling?
It used to early on, but I found that a lot of times that was because I just implemented it wrong. The API is pretty stable across both platforms now. There's not really much difference between OpenGL, or any difference really between OpenGL and any of the platforms. So.
Any more?
Okay.
Yep. Go ahead.
As far as distribution methods go, have you thought about using platforms like Direct Drive or Steam?
Yeah, we've thought about Steam. We've actually got somebody who's been trying to contact, or they haven't been trying to contact them, they've been contacting and trying to get the game out on Steam. We did just recently put our game on Desura, which is a very Steam-like client. So that's another method that we have there. Yeah, we'd like to be on Steam. Steam would be great. It would bring a lot of exposure. And we've seen a small jump, just with Desura, which is really not that well known yet, but maybe down the road that will be. Currently, we just have it, people can download the game off of CNET or whatever mirrors we have it, or, there's obviously like Ubuntu Game Manager and things like that. You can grab it out of there, or any of the Debian repos.
Good. Any more? Can we start in the back? He may not be able to see us, so
Yeah, I can't really see anybody, so. Oh, okay. I develop CAD applications that run on, well, they're actually third-party applications for Autodesk, like AutoCAD and things like that. It's basically software that allows engineers to draw piping and HVAC a little more easily. And it's got like intelligent data stored with the various fittings and things like that, and it generates reports that can be used for downloading to cutting tables and other things like that. Well, the funny thing is the gaming is what kind of taught me what I needed to know to work in this field. And I pretty much learned my new things from the gaming and kind of apply it over to the other side. So my bosses shouldn't have too much trouble with my side ventures.
Good. In the red.
That was actually kind of a perfect lead-in.
Okay.
I wanted to know what lessons have you learned in game development that apply to the business world?
I would say probably the aspect of not putting something out there that's not thoroughly and fully tested. Before we had a real community around the game, that was a big problem. And so, I kind of apply that with the business, aspect of it, with the CAD software we develop. I try to really hammer into the testers, to thoroughly test it on every platform in every environment they can possibly think of. They don't always do it and listen to me, but that was probably one of the biggest things. Plus the math that I relearned that I'd forgotten since high school.
One more. Go ahead.
How are you monetizing the game? Premium content? Or?
Yeah, we actually bundle, we have a toolbar company that approached us about 3 years ago. And we bundle a toolbar with our software. and they pay us for each time their toolbar gets installed. It's pretty popular with a lot of, I think even like Netscape or Firefox does something like that. But that's like a really common method. It's not a huge source of revenue, but it could be if more people installed the toolbars. But yeah, we're hoping that the billboard aspect in the game will catch on, and people, you know, advertisers will use that. We actually at one point, Diamond Multimedia. Oops, I think I've run over. But Diamond Multimedia, who makes video cards, that approached us, and we actually did a trade-off where they bundled our game with their on their DVDs that they gave out with their video cards, and then we gave them free billboards for that.
So you're doing in-game advertising?
Yeah, we have billboards like Quake Live does, scattered throughout the game. Haven't really had too many. We've had a couple people ask about how much that would cost to do it, and they kind of turned it down. We didn't really think it was a lot of money that we were asking, but.
Maybe we can get a Posscon logo in there next year on one of the billboards. Put Posscon
Yeah,
up on
there
it.
you
How's
go.
that?
Sure.
A round of applause for speaker.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
And you'll hang around for a couple more questions, won't you?
Oh, sure.
I mean, in fact, lunch is next. So
Okay,
we're all
all right.
headed up for lunch.
Go ahead.
All right, so you know what happens
I'm in
now.
no hurry.
It's 10 minutes to 12, and lunch.